What's going on, everyone, and welcome back for the off-season check-in for our Montreal Expos OOTP 25 Expansion Series. So first things first, we're just going to go over how the playoffs went. We were not a participant in them, but as you can see here, we're looking at the tree right now. So on the AL side, you had the Rangers and Mariners in the first wildcard series. You had the Rays and the Astros in the second. Looks like the Twins were a top seed and the Guardians were a top seed. On the NL side, you can see you had the Cardinals and Mets. Then you had the Padres and Dodgers. You had the Braves as a top seed and the Cubbies as a top seed. So you can see here, we'll start off on the AL. We'll work our way through. The Rangers took down the Mariners in the wild card, and the Astros took down the Rays. Rangers then go and get swept by Minnesota. Guardians take a Game 5 against Houston, and then the Twins 4-1 over the Guardians. Twins make the 2024 World Series. On the NL side, you've got the Mets taking down the Cardinals and the Dodgers taking down the Padres. Then you have two Game 5s in the divisional series. You have the Braves taking down the Mets and the Dodgers taking down the Cubbies. Braves eventually prevail in Game 6 in the NLCS, and Braves in 5 games become your 2024 World Series champions. So we'll come over here quickly. We're just going to look at who the World Series MVP was. You got Michael Harris II, World Series MVP for 2024. He's had a solid season overall. Look at that, 4 WAR, 24 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Good for him. And what a way for I believe the 23-year-old is said, 23-year-old to start his legacy. So we're going to take a look at overall standings, just see how everyone did. You can see Guardians, Mets, Cubbies, and Twins. Mariners in the West. Actually, they tied in the West. Wow, good for them. In the West over here, Dodgers, Braves with a 105-win season, followed up by a World Series. Ended the season on a 24-game winning streak. That's insane. Let's come over here. We're going to take a look at some league leaders. After this, what we're going to do, so we're at free agency filings. We're going to review some of the moves we made from the start of the offseason to now. We're going to review award winners. And then we're going to kind of map out our plans for free agency. So as you can see here, Bobby Witt led the league in average. Shohei, 55 homers. Logan O'Hoppe with 50. Good for him. Adolis ended with 47. Devers, 46. Ozzie Albies puts together 42 home runs. That's crazy. Devers and RBIs. Come over here. We got Kyle Tucker leads the league in WAR, followed by Bobby Witt and O'Hoppe, Gunnar Henderson, and Jackson Holliday. All 5 of the top players in WAR are from the AL. That's crazy. Trey Turner cracks 200 hits. Good for him. Jake McCarthy with 19 triples. Joey Gallo, as always, leading the league in strikeouts. Esteury Ruiz, 68 stolen bases. Pretty interesting there. A few names that I wasn't expecting. Albies and O'Hoppe putting up the numbers. Definitely shocks me there. Let's come over to pitching. Tristan McKenzie. You can see Severino and Max Fried topping 20 wins. We have the 2 league leaders in losses. Congrats to us. You can see we ended with 110 losses, so that's not super surprising there. Josh Hader leads the league in saves. Logan Webb in WAR. Corbin Burns up there as well. Come over here, we can see no one had more than 1 shutout, and only 3 complete games was the leader. Strider with 251 Ks. I know I said it in an earlier episode. Strider is going to lead the league in Ks unless he gets hurt or unless he gets a little TCR action and falls off a cliff. So that's that. Let's take a look at where our guys finished out just statistically. You can see, pitching-wise, feel free to pause if you want to look at any player in depth that I don't cover. But Tanaka, overall, our best pitcher, I would say. But also 3-16 on the season, so that's a little less than ideal. And I bet you guys are noticing some new names right here. We're going to cover that in a second. On the batting side, you can see we're missing a few guys because we did hit the off-season. But you can see Fabian ended with 32, Adolis with 47, Bryant 15, Story 20. You can see we kind of gutted our lineup here. So let's come take a look first off. You can see Braves win the World Series. Our market size actually increased to big, which, I mean, it's not really driven by team success, so I guess I understand there. For our budget, we actually did lose $12 million, but we do have about $90 million or so available to use for this year. Our owner goals right now are don't suck completely, upgrade in left field, which I can promise we're going to do. He wants us to have a huge jump in attendance, so that'll be tough. More drafted players to your team. That's probably more of a long-term goal, so we will probably not have too much trouble with that considering how weak we are. Increase fan interest, yep, makes sense. And build team up to make the playoffs in the next 2 seasons. That's going to be a tough one. I left this here just for fun. You can see Scherzer is now apparently running for Congress. Good for Max Scherzer. So for retirements, we actually had 6. We had Hanley, Dustin, Braun, Votto, and Chris Archer, along with Clay Buchholz. No one that we're going to miss too dearly. They were nostalgia ads for that first season. Top prospects list is out for the end of the season. And Charlie Condon, our first overall pick, comes in at the #1 prospect in baseball right now. I am excited. His defense has me a little worried whether we can use him in the outfield or if he'll just have to be a first base DH kind of guy. But at 6'6", 210, I'm thrilled to see him #1. Dylan Cruz looking at #2. Caminaro, #3. Marcelo Mayer, #4. Samuel Basallo, #5. Ethan Salas, #6. Daniel Espino, 7, but he's coming off a torn rotator cuff. Andrew Painter, 8. Jet Williams, 9. And Termar Johnson, 10. Quite a few of these guys look like they will be up in the majors for next year. At the end of the season, we did pull off a few waiver claims. So you can see Kyle Nicholas, we claimed. Looks like he could be an elite reliever for us, or at least a high-level reliever, better than what we had. Brent Honeywell was a waiver claim. Not too sold on him making the Major League roster yet, but he's got the pedigree. I know he was a former top prospect. I think he was in Tampa and then Pittsburgh. He's got the stuff. He's going to be fighting for one of those final spots in our pitching staff. Bailey Ober was a massive claim. He'll be in our starting rotation next year, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Elite control, good enough stuff, good enough movement. He'll be a guy for us that's throwing a lot of innings. And then we got Rowdy Jordan, a center fielder from the Mets. We claimed him on waivers. Good defender. He might be that 4th outfielder for us. Really figured might as well claim him. What's the worst that happens is we send him down or put him back on waivers. But at this point, he's an improvement over what we had. So that's it for moves there. Let's see. I think we pulled off a trade or two. So let's come over here to history. We'll look at transactions. We did. We pulled off one trade. So we sent away Mauricio Dubon, our utility guy, and prospect Nephi Rosario in exchange for shortstop Blaze Alexander. Blaze Alexander is young. He's got less than a full year service time. He's a high-level defender who can play any infield position along with any outfield position. He might struggle a little at center field with that range, but he's got a cannon for an arm. I think he's an improvement. He might be a starter for us against lefties. And overall, I think he gives us exactly what Dubon gave us, but younger, cheaper, and maybe even a little better. So without further ado, let's look at how the awards stacked up. So we're going to look at Gold Gloves first. You can see in the AL, Brian Wu out of Seattle takes the pitcher. Trevino, Rizzo, Simeon, Devers, Baez, McCormick, Siri, and Adolis Garcia. Adolis Garcia for us. That's our only Gold Glover. In the NL, you got Wheeler, Moreno, Encarnacion Strand, Gavin Lux, Arenado, Swanson, Luplow, Bader, and Tatis Jr. Josh Hader took home reliever of the year. Edwin Diaz did so in the NL. The Silver Slugger Awards, we got Ohapi, Nolan Shaniel, Jackson Holiday, Devers, Henderson, Soto, Trout, Tucker, and Wyatt Langford for DH. Good for him, although they're wasting him at DH. That's a great corner outfielder. In the NL side, you got Wilson Contreras, Vlad Jr., Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Trey Turner, Jared Kelnick. Good for Jared Kelnick. Corbin Carroll, Jordan Walker, and Shohei. The AL Rookie of the Year, unsurprisingly, was Wyatt Langford. in a very close race with Jackson Holiday. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, just from a quick look here, they were neck and neck. I have to imagine, though, Langford with the Silver Slugger, the 40 home runs, more RBIs, better average, just took it. And Jackson Chorio gets it on the NL side. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was his only real competition. How did Yamamoto do this year? 244 Ks and 11-11. Good for him. The Astros' Joe Espada wins Manager of the Year. The Braves' Brian Snitker wins NL. George Kirby takes home the Cy Young in what was essentially a little bit of a runaway. Let's take a look at Kirby here. Led the league in innings pitched, 11 wins, 231 strikeouts, 4.4 WAR. Oh, I don't want to get on a pedestal here, but 11 wins and gets the Cy Young. That is not the most impressive thing I've ever seen. Honestly, a little disappointing. I wish we could go back to the 2008, 2010 days when you had guys, pitching more innings, getting a little bit better numbers. Obviously, for health reasons, you can't do that anymore. And just analytically, teams have learned that the deeper a guy goes in a game, the more likely he is to get knocked around. But, pitching is one of those things where the fact that we will likely never have a new debut pitcher unless analytics change and pitching health changes that tops 200 wins. I think the active leader right now under the age of 30 is German Marquez with 70. So don't want to get too much on a soapbox there, but just one of those things that really gets on my nerves a little bit. Justin Steele wins NL Cy Young. Let's take a look at him. 17-7. We love that. 221 Ks, 5.1 WAR, 135 ERA plus. This is the trade proposal that we actually accepted, so we'll just delete that. Kyle Tucker takes home the AL MVP. Logan O'Hoppe finishes second. Bobby Witt third. Let's take a look at Tucker here. 8.5 WAR, good for him. Led the league in hits, led the league in runs, led the league in plate appearances. 38 homers, 111 RBIs. He was a killer. On the NL side, Shohei Ohtani, unsurprising there. Shohei actually only threw one game, and he didn't do overly great, didn't allow any runs, but only went 4 innings. But he did lead the league in runs, home runs, RBIs, walks, slugging percentage, OPS, and WAR on the NL side. So good for Shohei. Be very interested to see his two-way abilities next year now that he's healthy, and I'll be very interested to see how long he can sustain it. Generally speaking, in my experience, I've seen Shohei kind of fall off cliffs on the pitching side, but be able to maintain his batting ability. So that'll be very interesting. We're going to take a look at international free agents right here. David Miramontes doesn't look like anything special, age 30. Daniel Vargas, 29, same deal. Nelson Barriega, 27, same deal. Kenichi Funakashi, looks like he could actually be an MLB reliever. Won Woo Kim, same deal, could be a reliever, but I think he'll probably struggle at the MLB level. Tanaka's nothing. Nothing here for the catcher. Paul Ben Aguilar, nothing. Ji-Yoon Kim could be an MLB platoon guy, 33. Alejandro Mora, there we go. Look at this. 24 years old. He's a terrible defender, but he is a very interesting batter. He's a DH, he's a first baseman. Elite contact, no power, decent eye, gap power. We might take a look at him. He might be a fun guy to bring on to the Montreal team. He's got speed, but it's a weird spread with the no power. And Juan Rivera is not very good. As far as free agents, the headliners go Snell, who's hurt, Willie Adames, Jock Peterson, Jordan Montgomery, Shane Bieber, Anthony Santander, Marcel Ozuna, Paul Goldschmidt, Max Kepler, and Matt Chapman. So let's come over to our front office. We got $100 million to play with. We're not going to spend all of it, but we're going to spend a fair bit. We're going to look to improve our lineup. We're going to really look to bring in some bats. We're also going to look to see if we can maybe supplement our pitching staff with a high-level starter. Not as worried about relievers, but I'm definitely worried about, let's come over here just for an easier visual, worried about catcher, worried about shortstop, worried about center field. I think we can fill in the rest with guys we have or with reasonably cheaper free agent options, but we're going to look to really splash on those guys. Let's take a look just over at the expanded list just to see what we're working with. So it's sorted by potential. Juan Soto is available. I think I'm going to make a push for Juan Soto. He is that high-level batter we would like to add. He wants $39 million. He's a compensation free agent. I am going to give him, we'll probably top ourselves out at like $42 million. That would be about half of what we have to spend. I think we'll top there. We'll see where it goes. Mora's very interesting. I think I'll push. I'll have to really consider him. If he were a better defender, I would absolutely be all over him. Goldschmidt's a little too old for what we're looking for. Willy Adames could be that shortstop target. It'll probably depend on how Soto goes. We're only looking at batters right now. Verdugo could be a guy we look to bring in. Alec Boehm could be a guy that we look to bring in. Choi's not bad. Choi's a pretty good batter. Brendan Crawford could be a guy that we look to bring in. Darno. With a lot of options here. We're getting into those cheaper guys. Trent Grisham, especially as a center fielder. Kiermaier. Kiermaier used to be the best defensive center fielder in OOTP. Still very good, but not that elite level where you can look past his batting ability. JD Martinez might be a fun DH first base type. We'll take a look. We'll have an update. See who we land. Let's look at pitchers just super quickly. Like I said, for pitchers, I'm more concerned about starters than relievers. Shane Bieber, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery. Snell's coming off the injury. Otherwise, I would love to add him because that is lights out stuff. Montgomery we're looking at. Montgomery's pretty good, but he wants a lot of money. Bieber's the cheapest option. Shane Bieber might be who we look to add. Kershaw would be a fun one, but I have a feeling he's just going to fall right off a cliff. Verlander, same deal, would be fun, but I don't think we can trust him to make it through the whole season. AJ Puck. We're going to look to bring in AJ Puck. He's cheap. He can man a rotation spot with that 35 stamina. He won't go a ton of innings, but he's got elite stuff. We can also look to use him in that stopper role, so not quite our closer, but look to have him put out those fires and come in close games. Alex Cobb could be an option to eat some innings. Sean Manea's very good and cheaper. Frankie Montas, same deal. Charlie Morton's a little too old. Quintana's coming off a major injury. He's gonna be nothing. Jalen Beeks is stout. Clevenger's not bad. Clevenger's pretty bad, actually. Well, okay. Domingo Germán, he's a pretty good option. We will check back in. We'll check back in towards the end of the offseason. We'll have a wrap-up episode. We'll look at the Hall of Fame results as well. Going to be very excited to see who gets into that. As we plan for next year, the goal next year is to clear 70 wins. We couldn't even clear 55 this year. We're going to hope to clear 70 for next year, show progress, and have some hope going into year 3. I'll see you guys next time. We'll have our off-season wrap-up, and we'll see how everything goes. Thank you for watching.